My wife, 44 female, and I, 43 male, have been married for 20 years. We started dating in high school when I was a junior and she was a senior. We were long distance for her first 2 years of college while I was in high school, and did 1 year at community college. Then we went to college in the same city for a year and have lived together since. We got married the summer after I graduated college. Our marriage has been pretty great so far, but I initiated a divorce after I discovered that she was sleeping with multiple other men for the 2 years we were long distance. Just after Christmas, we got together with a few friends of hers from college to catch up, have dinner, and hang out. We talked about a lot of stuff, and my wife mentioned that we met in high school. Not that we dated, just that we met. Her old college roommate commented that it was crazy that we met in high school, had a few wild years in college, and then ended up together. I played along and commented that I didn't know if my wife was as crazy as I was. The roommate started to tell a story, but my wife cut her off and said she was uncomfortable about it. I sensed something was up, so I said that we actually started dating in high school and were together for my wife's entire time at college. All of my wife's friends got really quiet, and the rest of the dinner was awkward. On the way out, one of her other roommates took me aside and said I should have an honest conversation about what happened at college. I asked my wife on the way home, and she kind of blew me off. I told her it was important that she was honest with me, and again she said it wasn't important. When we got home, I told her I was going to stay at my brother's house until she was ready to talk about what happened in college. The next day, she came over and admitted to sleeping with several men during her first 2 years at college. She said she didn't consider it a big deal at the time, because we were long distance, and she didn't think a high school romance would last. I pressed for more details, and she said it was at least 10 different men. It included at least 3 guys she introduced to me as friends when I came to visit on weekends, and 1 guy she was still in contact with. I told her that I wanted a divorce and would be starting the paperwork as soon as I could, which I did on January 2nd. Her family and most of my family are telling me I shouldn't throw away my marriage over a few mistakes. I've stood by my belief that cheating on me with multiple men for years is unacceptable no matter when it happened. The fact that she continued to maintain relationships with these guys right in front of me was an unacceptable amount of disrespect. We have 2 children, but they are 17 and 19, and I believe they will understand why I need to end the marriage. Am I wrong for leaving? I feel like I'm going crazy with the number of people telling me to overlook years of infidelity and decades of lies. The reason I posted this is that my wife and a few friends have been saying it's common to sleep with other folks when you're in a long-distance relationship, and that I'm kind of the odd one out for not sleeping around. I felt like I was being gaslit, but I wanted an outside perspective. We live in a state with a waiting period to finalize a divorce, so I felt it was a reasonable idea to get some insight before things are finalized. I see a handful of folks saying it's normal to sleep around during a long-distance relationship, but it seems to be a significant minority. We saw each other a couple of weekends a month during the 2-year college period. I lived about 3 hours away from her college, so it was long distance, but not like cross-country. This was not a situation where we went months without seeing each other. The 3 guys I met while she was in college were meetups that happened during parties. The subject of me being a boyfriend didn't really come up, so I honestly don't know if these guys knew anything. The 1 guy we're still in contact with married a mutual friend from college. This is not some guy she secretly messages on the side. It's somebody we've talked to regularly for years. I've talked to him a few times since I've learned about my wife. He said he didn't know we were dating at the time and has since blocked my wife on social media. Some folks have asked how the roommates didn't realize at our wedding that the timelines didn't work out. The main reason is that my wife and I had a very small ceremony with just close family in Texas, then went back to the East Coast to have a big party with friends. The typical reception or sharing details about how we met stuff didn't really happen, so her roommates didn't realize we started dating before college. It sounds like they thought we only dated for the year we were both in the same city, then moved in together. I was open to therapy or some kind of attempt to save the marriage, but her insistence that this whole thing is common and I'm the one who's out of line is just too much for me. The only time she showed any remorse or even offered to reconcile was when I started filing paperwork. In the last week, she's gone back to saying she's right and I'm overreacting. This is also why I feel like I'm being gaslit. It seems obvious that this is a major issue, but I've got my wife and others telling me it's normal and I'm overreacting. I'm not getting a paternity test unless my kids want to get one. I don't have any doubts that they are biologically mine, and no test will make them not my kids. I love them more than anything in the world, and my wife's infidelity won't change that even if one or both of them is not biologically mine. They've been my kids for 19 years, and they will be my kids until I stop breathing. Update. We were definitely exclusively dating at the time. First, dating culture was a lot different 20-ish years ago, and exclusive was kind of the default for most people. Second, we had a long and difficult discussion before she left for college about continuing the relationship long distance. She specifically wanted to stay together and even joked about her dad coming after me if I started sleeping around with girls at my school. Finally, at my senior prom, she was not able to attend and was very upset when I proposed going with a platonic female friend of mine. As a result, I ended up skipping my prom and hanging out with her instead. While we never said the word exclusive, I think the above reasons, combined with the general relationship before she left, are enough to assume exclusivity. Based on some comments here, I followed up with the friend who said I should have an honest conversation. She told me that 10 guy would be on the low end. That her biggest concern was that there was apparently at least one pregnancy scare that I didn't know about. I honestly don't think that really changes much. It's less about the number for me and more about the fact that she seems incapable of recognizing why this was wrong or why I feel betrayed. Thank you all for the helpful responses, even those that disagree with me. I will still be open to therapy if she's willing, but I honestly feel like it would be more about us being successful co-parents and finding closure than saving our marriage. Some of the relevant comments from this update were as follows. On if the wife is willing to work to repair the marriage. It would change a lot if I felt that she wanted to fix this. Throughout our conversation about it, she repeatedly dismissed my feelings and told me I was overreacting to totally normal behavior. She didn't show any regret or consideration for how it hurt me until she realized I was serious about divorce, and then she got defensive and angry. She didn't offer to fix things in any way until I started the paperwork and notified her that I had a lawyer. I think we can navigate being parents. Our kids are older, and I've been putting away money for college for a long time, so a lot of the custody and monetary issues that come up shouldn't be a big problem. We're also both financially stable and make good money. On the timing of everything, I've hired a lawyer. He drafted an intent to separate and sent her a copy certified mail. As far as I know, that's not any legal divorce paper with the state, but rather a part of the process to ensure that she has an opportunity to hire her own lawyer if she wants to contest it. Actually going through the divorce will likely take months. I'm not really moving out. I've been crashing at my brother's place while I make arrangements for a more permanent living scenario. As far as timing goes, the dinner happened on the 26th. I went to my brother's house that night to cool off and give her a chance to think about things. We talked several times over the course of 4 to 5 days, and she made it clear that she didn't believe she did anything wrong. If there was any kind of remorse, regret, or basic consideration of my feelings on her part, I probably would have waited. However, she didn't, so I found a divorce lawyer, and he had boilerplate intent to separate agreements that we filled out and sent over the same day. Even now, we're obviously not legally divorced, and I don't even know if there is a legal concept of separation in my state, but I've made it clear this is happening and started the process. Update number 2. My wife and I are seeing a couples counselor and have been to 3 sessions now. Based on what my original post outlined and what we've talked about in counseling, I'm still moving forward with the divorce. I believe that counseling was the right move, and I appreciate folks for recommending it. I don't think it's going to save our marriage, but it has helped me communicate my feelings, helped my wife understand where I'm coming from, and most importantly, helped us be in a position to work together as co-parents. First, let's talk about the things I learned about the situation in college. After talking to my wife in sessions and texting with 2 of her roommates, it's clear that her roommates knew something was up in college. They said they thought the situation was weird and likely involved cheating. My wife had told them that we both had some wild times in college and worked it out before we got married, so they never really brought it up. The roommate who pulled me aside recently was uncomfortable with the fact that my wife clearly didn't talk it through with me and wanted me to know. As far as being introduced to guys she slept with, apparently, that was not intended. For one of the guys, he ended up dating and then marrying one of our mutual friends from college. This is the guy she was in contact with. In the other situations, she initially blamed me in the counseling session, but has now agreed it was bad. When I went to visit her, she planned to hang out in the room, or just hang out together alone. But I wanted to go to a few parties, because in high school and community college, I didn't really have parties to go to. She didn't expect me to meet the guys, but they were at the parties and she felt she didn't really have a choice. I still think this is kind of shitty, but it's not as bad as her intentionally parading me in front of the guys. Most of our discussion in therapy has been talking about why I think it's a big deal and she doesn't. She initially said that none of these guys were in relationships with her and it was mostly one-night stands. Since she didn't view them as romantic relationships, she didn't see the big deal. My opinion is that we never said that was okay, and she actively prevented me from doing the same. After digging into this across 2 sessions, and my wife talking to some friends, she now agrees that it was a breach of our relationship. This is the shared understanding that has helped us talk about this situation more honestly and helped us get from arguing to talking, which is why I'm optimistic about co-parenting. Now, here's why I'm 100% set on divorce. 2 things came up that made me want to leave the marriage. First, about 10 years ago, we went through a real rough patch and had a dead bedroom for about 2 years. She had expressed that our sex life was becoming boring, so I tried to spice things up. Nothing crazy, just role play and like Spencer's gift-level sex toys. Apparently, she had been hung up on some sexual experiences that happened in college and wanted me to try them. But when I did, it made her feel awkward and guilty that it made her think of other men while she was with me. The fact that she's saying these experiences were meaningless, but they're still impacting our marriage, tells me they meant more than she wants to say. Second, she admitted that she has been flirting with coworkers on business trips since the pandemic ended. She says she has never slept with anybody, but it got as far as going on a date with one of her male coworkers. That was the absolute deal breaker for me. We have told our children that we're getting a divorce. We told them it was due to some bad decisions that we made in college that we're having trouble moving past. My 19-year-old who is in college asked me if I cheated on my wife while she was away at college. My wife got a little shaken up, but admitted to the kids that she was the one who cheated. We have agreed to not share any additional details with the kids. I reinforced that both of us will be there for the kids and that we are in therapy to help make sure we handle this in the best way for the family. I also told the kids that if they wanted to talk to either of us or a therapist about it, I would fully support it. We've started talking to a mediator about how to proceed with the divorce. Unless things change, we should be able to have an amicable divorce. We're both financially stable on our own. We have no major debts, and our kids are older, so custody isn't a major issue. This has been a shitty couple of months for me, but I'm doing okay now. I am grateful that my last post blew up because it both validated some of my feelings, but also motivated me to go to counseling with my wife. Some of the relevant and good comments from this update are: "Sorry, original poster, but this is for the best. She's been keeping you in the dark for over 20 years. She says she has never slept with anybody, but it got as far as going on a date with one of her male co-workers. If you believe this, then I got a bridge on Mars to sell you. Dead bedrooms for young couples usually means someone is getting somewhere else." Original poster's reply was, "I don't really believe it, but I also don't think it's worth it to dig into it more. I'm going to get an STD panel done to make sure I'm safe, and I really don't need to know anymore. If it was just a date, we're getting divorced. If it was more, we're still getting a divorce, so pushing the issue won't do anything but make it harder for us to co-parent. I'm also reasonably sure that she was cheating during our dead bedroom situation. We were having sex once every 2 to 3 months, and we usually have sex 2 to 3 times a week. Again, I have enough to know it's time to move on, and digging more into it will only make the divorce harder." Another comment was, "Has she even apologized for everything she put you through? Especially the part where she went on a date with some asshole?" The original poster's reply was, "Before our counseling and at the first appointment, she was not apologetic. In the second appointment, the focus was for me to explain the effect it had on me. She has expressed remorse and apologized repeatedly since that session. It's too little too late, but she's not some kind of emotionless monster." Another comment was, "I'm super curious to know what kind of sexual things she was hung up on from her past, but that she felt uncomfortable doing with you. That alone seems very red flag." The original poster's reply to this was, "I didn't really want to dig into it too much." Right before the dead bedroom stuff started, she was asking to experiment with new stuff in the bedroom. It was mostly BD as M kind of stuff that was a little more intense than I was comfortable with. At the time, 50 Shades was popular, and she got into some other smutty kind of reading. I attributed the change in sex to that, but my guess is that some of the guys she was with in college were into this stuff. Maybe it was a combination of the two. She hasn't admitted to cheating during that time, but I'd be willing to bet the dead bedroom at home was because she found another person to do kinky shit with. When asked about why the daughter thought he cheated, "To be fair, my 19-year-old daughter had some issues with shitty boyfriends who have either cheated or dumped her suddenly to be with somebody else. I'm also the one who left the house. Given her experience with men, and the fact that I'm the one who left the house, it makes sense that would be her first thought. When cheating came up, my wife made it clear that she was the one who cheated. To be honest, I'm not really too concerned about the narrative here. From what I can tell, she hasn't said anything bad about me to our kids. In addition, given her admission of recent cheating and the fact that she's ready to file a joint, amicable divorce after 6 weeks and 3 counseling sessions, I think she was ready to move on before I was. It makes the logistics of the divorce easier, but it hurts a bit to realize she's having an easier time walking away from a 20-year marriage than I am. When told not to be surprised, she starts dating again. I'm pretty sure that she's already looking. We've had one meeting with an equitable divorce mediator, and she specifically stated that we are married until the divorce is final, and any adultery that happens before that date could jeopardize the amicable divorce settlement. It seems kind of dumb to me since we're getting divorced due to infidelity, but my soon-to-be ex-wife was visibly grumpy when that came up. I also imagine that the fact that I'm living in the guest room isn't helping her prospects. At the end of the day, I'm doing my best to try to accept that our marriage is over and I've been going to therapy on my own to help deal with it. I'm mentally prepared for the fact that there's a good chance I see the coworker she only dated again, but I'm also hopeful that I can find a place and be ready to move out before the divorce is finalized. If everything goes well and we can create a plan with the mediator, we will be divorced by summer. I will be in my own place, and she can just date whichever coworkers she wants.